So, you gotta have things in perspective. My mother had fourth grade education. She brought us up. She worked day and night as a seamstress to make it possible for us to live, to eat. 5 of us, 3 boys, 2 girls. She would put her pennies together to accumulate them so she could pay the rent every month. And yet I don't remember a single time that my mother said to me, "Son, we can't afford that. Son, we could never be like the Joneses down the street who have a nice car and are eating steak tonight." Instead, my mother would spend whatever she had, put it in perspective, and made me believe that I can accomplish anything in life if I just work hard enough and smart enough. And so my mother taught me 3 lessons. Until the day I die, I will talk about those 3 lessons. Every book I've written, 18 of them. Every CD I've recorded, hundreds of them. Videos, hundreds of them. 25, 26 languages sold all over the world. That all really depend on these 3 lessons. Whatever I say today, remember these 3 lessons. Number 1, who you spend time with is who you become. If you want to be a great person, you have to walk hand in hand and side by side with great people. If you want to be negative, hang around some negative people. If you want to be mediocrely successful, hang around people who have mediocrity in their success. If you want to be a great thinker, if you want to be smart, hang around people who are smart. She would say to me, if you want to be rich, find out what poor people do and don't do it. It's not complicated. Think of the koi fish. You put a koi fish in a fish bowl, give it all the water you want to give it, all the food you want to give it. The koi fish never grows to more than about 2 inches in size. Take the koi fish out of the fish bowl and put it in a lake somewhere. The lake has deeper waters, therefore colder waters. There are other big fishes trying to eat this koi. What happens to the koi fish? It grows to about 1 foot in size. You and I grow proportionately to the environment in which you reside. That is why I salute you on this morning, that you are here, that you are learning. It does not go unnoticed by me that this is, you've been here since Tuesday night. I'm seeing this room, and maybe a couple of dozen people disappeared, and this is the last session. In most places, the last session would lose 50, 60, 70% of the attendance. You're here. That tells me everything I need to know about you. We grow proportionately to the environment in which we live. Here's some homework for you. When you get home, take a pad and a pen, or take your iPhone, your iPad, and answer this question. Who are the people who reside in my circle of influence? Name me the 5 people who are most invested in your circle of influence, and I can predict your future with a high degree of accuracy. You know, I learned the English language on 3x5 cards. As Robin said, 10 English words a day. I take the 3x5 card and put the 10 English words, memorize spelling and meaning of those 10 words. Today, tomorrow, 3 English card, memorize spelling and meaning of those 10 words, review the 10 words from the day prior. I gave myself Sunday off. By Saturday, I learned 60 English words. In the course of a year, I learned 3,120 words. That's 62.5% of what the average American knows in his or her vocabulary. Yeah, you'd call me disadvantaged, handicap, vocabulary speaking, linguistically speaking, but I just told you, I wrote all these books in the English language. One of my books, How to Be a Great Communicator, I recorded on audio. It sold $16 million at retail. Hello. I tell our students at Hyper University, tell me why you cannot be extraordinary. Go ahead and tell me. See, God didn't sit in heaven and say, I tell you what I'm going to do. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to create some extraordinary people. But on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I'm going to create some dingalings. Question for you, ladies and gentlemen, which day were you born on? Of course not. The Bible says God breathed in our nostrils and gave us life. He created us in His own image. We're all extraordinary. It is we who screw it up, not the way we were created. Finish the sentence for me, will you please? Garbage in? No, no, no. Keep it real. No. Garbage in, garbage stays. You tell yourself, I can't, Somehow, your database contains it right there. And every time you try to do something big, every time you're trying to take a risk, every time you're trying to step up and step out, the voice comes in and says, but you can't. You don't hear it, but it forms the very personhood that you become. No, garbage in, garbage stays. Wisdom in, wisdom stays. And my mother never allowed me to put garbage in my brain. She said you can take the word can't, put it in a box, put it in the backyard, bury it forever. It is called, ladies and gentlemen, the art of the possible. The art of the possible. All things are possible for men and women who possess faithful courage. I started 6 businesses. You don't need to lecture me about what it takes to start a business, to risk your capital, to build a business, and often to sell a business. In my case, at very, very high returns. I'll tell you some stories here this morning. Those 3x5 cards, I learned the English language because I was determined, by golly, that okay is not enough. Mediocrity is not enough. Comfort zones is for losers. That I have to be excellent, extraordinary. I have to do more. I have to do everything required of me and then some. And it's in the and then some zone that championships are won. And it's no different about your business or mine. I've been in 5 different sectors of business. Very different one from the other. With God's help, I have succeeded in all of them. There's a reason for that, not because I'm that smart, but because I applied the fundamentals, the principles, the tenets, that if you apply them consistently in your life, there's no way you will not succeed. There's no way. They're the same fundamentals that the co-founder of Netflix, the co-founder of Apple Computer, the same fundamentals Colin Powell or Condoleezza Rice growing in Birmingham, in the heart of segregated America, went on to become the youngest, the only African American, and the only woman to be president of Stanford University. Don't tell me what you can't do. Let's leave Nashville today determined that we can change the world, that your business can go to higher standards, that yes, you can be more profitable, yes, you can serve more people, yes, you can. The word impossible, if you take an apostrophe, put it after the I, it becomes I'm possible. The art of the possible. 3x5 cards. I was determined I'll speak the language in a fluent, and flowing manner. Nothing I'm telling you this morning is memorized. I am giving you the speech from little ideas in my head, and I'm forming them as I'm speaking to you, which is perhaps why I have survived for more than 40 years in the platforms of America and the world, given 7,500 presentations, and 90-some% of my business, all repeat business. This is the 4th time I speak for Robin Robbins, for example. This is what I mean. We must have things in perspective. Speaking of which, the other day somebody asked me this question. Said, you know, this 3x5 cards, but you learn 10 English words. Do you mind telling us what was the very first word on the very first card? Nobody had ever asked me that question before. I said, sir, you've asked me an honest question. I've got to give you an honest answer. You're not going to believe this, and please forgive me. But it's the truth. The very first word on the very first card was the word dumbass. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I swear to you, I did not know what the word meant. I'm sure I even misspelled it on the card. But I heard that word repeated about 30, 40 times every day. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to live in America and succeed, I got to learn that word. I now realize that's the most important word in the English language, because when you call a person a dumbass, nobody goes, what do you mean? We know exactly what we mean. And dumbasses are everywhere. Forgive me for this statement. In a group this large, there are at least a couple of dumbasses here. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but you are here. This is just a law of probability. And so my mother said, who you spend time with? And I did not want to be poor anymore. I didn't want to live like my mama lived, God bless her. I wanted to be financially confident. And I listened to her when she said, the circumstances you find yourself in, you this morning, whether they're business or personal, the circumstances you find yourself this morning, whether you're going through some problems at home or at work, the circumstances in which you find yourself do not define where you end up. They only define where you start. Hope is eternal. So my mother said, what you choose is what you get. You got to take responsibility for your own behavior, your own thoughts, and who resides in your circle of influence. What you choose is what you get. May I be daring and say to you that whatever your circumstances today are, you got there based on choices you made along the journey of your life. Now, there are exceptions to that, of course. Someone who, God forbid, is diagnosed with cancer, they didn't get up in the morning and say, let me choose to have cancer. Someone who lost a loved one in a car accident did not say, I'm going to be careless so they can have. Of course not. But in most circumstances, in your life or mine, our choices get us there. Even when you make a business decision, you make a choice. Prepare well, learn well, plan intelligently, or be haphazard, then wonder why it doesn't work. Let me tell you about my friend Jack. You're not going to believe this. My friend Jack has been married 8 times. The last time Jack got married, we all printed bumper stickers that said, honk if you've been married to Jack. You know, I gave you homework. Remember, circle of influence, who resides in your circle of influence? I'm going to give you more homework. You make bad choices, you create your own circle of concerns. What's on your list of concerns? What are you worried about? And how did you get there? And how can you avoid that in the future? You'll beat everybody at their own game because most people, ladies and gentlemen, would rather be comfortable than be excellent. Your competition is not as fierce as you've imagined it to be. So all of you have to-do lists. You're like me. You've got things to do every day. Sometimes you have too many things to do and not enough time in which to do them. You don't have to raise your hand. Just in your heart answer this question. How many of you here this morning have a to-be list? Not a to-do list, transactional stuff, but a to-be list, transformational stuff. What is on your list of to-be? And I got news for all of us. There's no way you can have a to-be list unless you have a stop-doing list. The only way we can become is to stop doing some things that are holding us back from becoming. That too is a matter of perspective. If you want to become more successful, if you want to double the size of your business, if you want to be happier in life, you got to stop doing some stuff that's keeping us from getting there. If you don't have that list, I've coached thousands of business people over the years. When they don't have that list, I said, this coaching session has now ended. You go home and you come back to me with these 2 lists, and I'll show you how you can turn your life dramatically in one direction, upward direction. Because the absence of these 2 lists, actually 3 lists, to be and stop doing, And who's in your circle of influence? The absence of those tells me you're just getting up in the morning and saying, blow in my ear, I'll follow you anywhere. You have no real clarity as to where you want to go and why. So, the third thing my mother said is, how you succeed, how you change is how you succeed. The change and transformation are part and parcel of who we are. And that's an hour lecture in and of itself, which I won't get into because I got so much other stuff I want to share with you. But suffice it to say, who you spend time with, what you choose, how you change, these are three fundamentals that have served me well. And I've shared them with millions of people, and many of those people have been served well.